Good afternoon, everyone. Just a few comments here before the holiday. Won't be really a summary of what we've done, but a couple of things related to the content of what we looked at during this last couple of weeks. It's been a little chaotic with the holidays coming in, I know. So we have these three lessons which we're sort of looking at together. I hope you'll be able to go back to look at 3, 4, 5, 6. Respond to some people, respond to me. I offered a few things there as well. So a couple of things that I thought would be worth remarking on. One is sort of the figure of Moshe that I asked you to look at. I think that the Bible draws a very interesting picture of Moshe, both what it doesn't say and what it does say. The question of what kvad peh and kval lashon actually means, heavy of tongue, heavy of speech. It's not at all clear what that means, and in fact, it doesn't actually return to that. I don't believe there's any other mention of Moshe having any problem speaking after the burning bush episode. Of course, Aaron comes in with him, and there's the whole question of the place of Aaron in this story. Moses himself, throughout his career, has a number of interesting aspects to his life. The question of his marriage, his children, his relationship to the people in general. It all feels a little bit distant. The only being that really is his confidant, his friend, is God in this whole story. God gets angry at him. He gets angry at God. God almost whines to him. He whines back to God. In the end, it's always interesting to look at the fact that he didn't get to go into the land of Canaan. What was that all about? His relationship to the people as a whole, starting back to the fact that he killed the Egyptian, and then he intervened with the other people. I don't have any clear answers to this, but I do think it's all very fascinating, the way that the picture is presented to us. What I did want to talk about in this short video a little bit more is a little bit more on the Shema Yisrael, which Brettler doesn't talk about that much. I do agree with his view that V'ahavta most likely does refer to loyalty, obedience, sticking with it, not straying, and so on. As I said in my note in the discussion thread, I don't know that that's all it means, but I do think that this word lehehov, to love, is such an interesting word. We think we have some handle on it today. Even today, there would be, you ask 10 different people, what does the word love mean? And you'll probably get 10 different answers. But everybody seems to have a sense that when somebody says love, that they have at least some sense of what it means. What I wanted to reflect on just briefly is the first part. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Seems to me we need to read this a little differently, and I would put the punctuation also differently here too. I don't think Brettler refers to this, but it's "Hear, O Israel," or "Hear, Israel, Adonai Eloheinu." The idea is here, Adonai is our God, Adonai Echad. Adonai is one, not the Lord is our God. What the heck does that mean, the Lord is our God? Of course, the Lord and God, those are synonyms. But what is really being said here is Adonai, that particular God, that God whose name is Adonai, who revealed himself to Moses at the burning bush, and who continues to reveal and to make promises to the Jewish people. That special being who in fact is the God of all, but it gave Israel the name Adonai to call him by. That's the one that is our God, the all-powerful one, and so on. So when we say Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai is our God, meaning not all the other gods. There's one particular thing. This is our God, Adonai, and this God is one. There is no other than he. There is no other than he. That reading of the Shema Yisrael seems to me to reflect both the actual meaning, and it makes a lot more sense when you look at the way the words operate. The same thing is, you can look at it that way many times when the word Adonai is used in the liturgy and other places. At the end of the Aleinu prayer, which is said at the end of most Jewish services, you say, V'nemar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz. And Adonai will be the king over all the world. On that day, he will be one, his name one. But Adonai will be the king, not just the Lord will be the king. Adonai, this Adonai who has revealed himself to Israel. And we don't actually even know how to pronounce that term. Yud He Vav He is the way the vowels are, but that those vowels are really taken from the word Adonai, and it's called the Tetragrammaton, that special word for God that gets used throughout the text of the Bible, used in the services, used throughout. That's the name for God, which one isn't supposed to write out, and so on. That special sacred name for God. So as we look at Shema Yisrael, that's what that's how that works. And so that in that sense, the knowledge of Hebrew and the knowledge of how this works really does help in one's deeper understanding of the materials. For the coming week, what you've been doing already really focuses on the question of the origins of Israel. Where do they come from? What about the story of the Exodus from Egypt? How does that work with the archaeology that we begin to investigate with regard to the conquest and settlement of the land? How did that happen? How did those tribes become Israel? That's all one kind of question. Kugel responds to it, Bredler responds to it. And then this other set of questions about the book of Samuel. Again, I encourage you simply to sit down, like with a good book, and just read through the 2 books of Samuel and the first few chapters of the story of Solomon in the book of Kings. It's a really wonderful story with all kinds of twists and ins and outs and so on. And each of the characters has their own story to it. As I said in the essay by Tzvi Adar, he looks at this as a long story and really looks at it from a literary perspective. So I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to continue on this, and we will have regular office hours, I guess, around this time next week, on next Wednesday afternoon, and I'll be interested in hearing some of your responses to this material, since we'll still be doing this all the way through next week. So for those of you celebrating, a happy holiday, Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah.